obviously you are you're a trans person, right?
Me?
Is that how you, right?
Oh,
No.
me, a transformer.
All right, today's guest has built an awesome following in one of the hardest industries to work in. She's bold, she's confident, she's Bailey Archer. Welcome to Real Vegas Podcast, Bailey. How are you doing?
Great, thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. How's your, you're from Canada, right?
Yes, I am.
You've been out to Las Vegas before?
The last time I was here was probably about 3.5 years ago.
Do you like it?
A little dry.
It's a little dry?
Just a little bit.
And you said you're here and you're going to LA, correct?
Yes, I am.
So being from Canada, which one do you like better?
Between LA and Vegas?
Yeah.
I love Vegas for the nightlife.
Okay.
The energy. Of course, I have friends out here as well, so getting to see them is always a plus. But if we're talking like a place I'd want to be, I'm going to have to say Los Angeles. I could come and visit Vegas, but I could never really, I think, live out here fully.
No, you don't think so?
No, I'm being in Canada and everything, and especially being on the East Coast. I grew up by the ocean. So basically, I would miss an ocean or a body of water to be around.
That's true. Vegas is not really known for its water.
I mean, get me to a pool party, maybe I'll survive. But
right, like I said, I think that's like the only water we have here. So Vegas is probably good. I would think Vegas and LA is probably great for both for content, right?
Yes, I feel like Vegas and Los Angeles are both like model hubs. There's a lot of great performers out here, a lot of great photographers, videographers, studios. So I feel like the demand and also the availability of having these people here can definitely make content and content creation, everything down to like, costumes, makeup, hair, the content itself, a lot more easy. Maybe that's not the right word. A lot more doable. And the reason I say that is because coming from Canada, we have some great content creators, but the unfortunate thing is they're in very small numbers. So I feel like having the availability to develop such a great community within the, the sex industry and being able to, have friends, but also great colleagues that you're able to work with, it makes the job a lot more doable.
Right, and I was going to say, are people a little bit, do you notice a difference in the culture and people between Canada and when you come out here to the West Coast in the United States?
I mean, if we're talking the United States, I feel like Canada and, Bangor or Maine, those East Coast areas, you could cross the border and definitely not realize you're in America.
Oh, okay.
But do I find coming here is a significant change? 100%. Canada, we're cold from, October until probably March. We're currently getting into the end of April and it's still snowing there.
Okay.
So there's definitely a big change because this time of the year in Canada, I'd probably be wearing something not so skin showing.
Right. Are you familiar with Trailer Park Boys?
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Very familiar.
That's when I first started. I remember seeing that show, and I always, because I was a fan of the show. I always like categorized Canada with Trailer Park Boys. Is there places like the Trailer Park Boys there? Or is that just a total fabrication?
Well, the funny thing is, I actually have family that are from the province that it was filmed in, which is Nova Scotia.
Okay, yeah.
So there have been many times that I've gone there in the summers, and Nova Scotia is a beautiful little place in Canada. It's the east of the east. It's a fishing province. It specifically Halifax used to be like what I like to call a pirate city back in the day.
Pirate City?
Pirate City, 100%.
Right.
Pirates running around grabbing booty every way.
Right.
But my favorite thing about it is the fact that going there and seeing the Trailer Park Boys as well, like there were times where they'd be filming in the small towns around.
So you've actually seen them film?
Yes, not only that, but I actually got to have Officer Leahy.
Jim Leahy, Trailer Park Supervisor.
Yes.
Okay.
He signed a shirt for me.
No way.
Yes.
Rest in peace. He passed away.
Yes, rest in peace.
But that guy was hilarious.
He was.
One of my favorite lines of that show is Randy, the shirtless guy in the
Oh,
tight pants,
who doesn't know Randy?
right? He would always go, "Mr. Leahy, is that you or the liquor talking?" He go, "I am the liquor." It was the best, dude. So,
Yeah.
so can you take me back to a moment? Obviously, you're a trans person, right? Is that how
Me?
right?
No.
No,
Me, a transformer.
no. Say okay. So
Trans fats.
what is it? What's the other one?
Transponder.
Transponder, transformer. I would
And
know. Just gonna say.
transgender.
I was gonna say, saying trans or transgender is both. Would you say acceptable?
Those
correct?
are totally appropriate.
And I just
100%.
always ask because I've interviewed and I've worked with plenty of trans. Like, how do you like the old school terms like tranny or maybe even shemale? Do you laugh at that or do you like that's an insult to me and that's like you shouldn't say that?
So I'm going to give this narrative in my own very humble opinion because
Absolutely.
we are now in 2026 and, people are allowed to have their opinions, but it's my opinion. So
Of course, absolutely.
not everybody has to agree with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're living the life, so it's
Yeah.
always I think your opinion would matter more.
So when I say others, I mean specifically other like trans women, nobody indirect, but so I'll just say my opinion and I'll be able to give examples of what I'm talking about.
Of course.
So, for instance, in Thailand, the word ladyboy is seen as a term of positivity and endearment, and I love it. I also love the fact that I can be with my trans girlfriends and we can take a word that has been used against us in shame to create light of a situation. Like,
And you're referring to just the term ladyboy.
not ladyboy, sorry. To be clear, in Thailand, for example, that word ladyboy is used quite frequently even today.
They even call them like ladyboy bars and stuff out there,
Yep.
correct? Yeah.
So it's not a term of insultment or insulting in their culture, from what I understand.
They embrace it.
It seems to be a term of endearment, a complimentary term. And honestly, I love that. I'm all for it.
Because isn't that the whole point?
Yeah,
Right? To look like a lady,
100%.
right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Not just look, but also, there's a certain something inside of you, because the way I like to put it is like when people call this like a mental illness or say like certain things like, oh, you're not supposed to be this way. I ask them that, or it's not right, it's a choice. I kind of take a step back and I'm like, you think I'd choose this for myself? Like the hair maintenance alone is chaos. The fact I'm spending so much money on like skincare products, clothing,
Like a real chick. I mean,
do you know
that's
how
like-
many hair clips I lose and how many hair clips I have lost in the span of this trip? It's ridiculous. I feel like half my budget has gone to hair clips.
So just if you don't mind me, so just taking back a little bit, like
Yeah.
when can you take me back to like the first moment where you maybe started questioning your identity as a male?
Of course, but before we do that, would it be okay if I finished my sentiment on how I feel about the word tranny?
Oh
and
yeah,
shemale?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, no problem at all. So the point I was making with that was, at the end of the day, I feel like the word tranny should be used amongst the dolls, amongst the girls who kind of understand where that word has been used in hate. And I feel like when the girls say it, it's okay because we're talking to each other. It's a word that, we all know has been made in order to shine hate on transgender women. And, there are other words out there like I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Tranny, he, she, just a bunch. And basically, I guess I'll say to end this one.
No, you're fine.
Because I ramble sometimes.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate. No, it's one of the questions I like to ask on the show because, in my opinion, like you're living it. It's your perspective, and I just like that to show people how it can be offensive or not offensive. You get each in. But anyway, go ahead.
So to sum it up, do I think the word tranny and shemale should be used in like every sense in every way? No, I definitely don't think like Giga Chad at like 5 o'clock drinks with the boys should be throwing that word around. But do I think that, in my own humble opinion, again, should the word be used around the girls and around the dolls?
Right.
100%.
Well, yeah, that's where I hear it mostly.
Yeah, because it reminds us of like where we came from and who we are now. Like at the end of the day, and I'll say it, we were all once men. in one way or another.
Absolutely.
And, I don't sit here and try to identify in any way, shape, or form as a cisgendered woman. I do not have a vagina. I don't know what it means to bleed. I don't know what it means to give birth. But as a trans woman, I stand here, I stand on my truth, and I will never let that be shaken. I've always said I'd rather, die free than die afraid, especially with the political climate right now and how people view transgender people and everything that's going on. It's very important that, we as trans women have that community to go back to, have these talks, to have these conversations, and to, most importantly, be able to use those words because, they're kind of, there's something there, like I said, that was in pain. But at the end of the day, we were able to take it back and make it something better.
Um, Great answer.
Thank you.
To take it back a little bit,
Of course.
I like how you said, because these are just my beliefs. I'm accepting of lifestyles as long as you're not hurting kids or hurting people.
Exactly.
100%. I mean, it's just what it is. And how you said you're not a biological female, and I feel like trans that try to say that trans are real female, it's an insult to real females because, like you said, you're never going to be able to birth children. You don't know what it is to have a menstrual cycle. But in this day and age, and even in this political climate, I believe that there's been more transgenders coming out than ever, and you girls are allowed to live your life more freely than ever in any history of the time. And I think you're more free to do so now, and I think that's another reason why more and more, for lack of a better term, coming out. Right? Is it?
I mean, coming out kind of goes both ways. You come out as gay, you come out as transgender. So yes, coming out would be an appropriate term.
And then when did you start having your feelings? How old were you when you started thinking like maybe I'm not a boy, maybe I am trans?
Well, the thing is, you don't immediately start thinking that you're trans, and the reason of that is you don't realize the term until maybe much later in life. So to give example on this, I was probably about 5 or 6 years old when I started wearing my mother's nightgowns, her high heels, getting into her makeup. You know,
5 or 6 years old. You're just a kid.
Yeah.
I put on I remember because I love rock and roll.
Mhm.
I remember putting on some of my mom's clothes sometimes and messing around with the makeup, and
Yeah.
I was like the rock and rollers on TV. So, but was it an actual, like, at that age, were you even thinking about sexuality or identity, or you were
Not
just having
sexuality.
fun as a
no.
kid? You know?
Not sexuality, but I know for a fact that in my head, I always believed I was a girl.
Okay.
And I always felt like I was a girl because one of the things that I got very lucky with was so I am also intersex. I have Klinefelter syndrome as well. I was on a previous Klinefelter syndrome.
Can you explain to
Of course,
okay,
of
yeah.
course. So, Klinefelter syndrome is a umbrella term used to subcategorize a series of conditions or syndromes that don't meet the stereotypical definition of male or female. So there are a few different ones under this umbrella of intersex, but I have what is known as Klinefelter syndrome. So that means that I was biologically born a boy, and I like to make this fun to
No.
make it understandable.
Thank you.
The best way I describe it is the situation that happened with my body during puberty was that my body had like a little summit, like all the cells in my body got together around a little conference table, and they were like, "Hey, why don't we just throw a little bit of estrogen in here to see what happens?" So through my childhood and my puberty development, I very much so developed very delicate arms. I feel like my features weren't as masculine as they should have been through my puberty, so to speak, because I'm a twin as well, a fraternal twin, and my brother, he is very masculine, like huge arms, huge legs. And I just knew if I looked like that, it would make my transition more complicated, unfortunately.
But you're saying before even the transition process as a kid, when you started hitting puberty, or again, and like I said, most biological males, you start developing muscle, you start developing masculinity.
Yeah.
You're saying your body was a little different, and it kind of threw some estrogen, like kind of like, for lack of a better term, like half and half, like.
Not so much. The reason I say this is there is another definition for that. I'm not too sure on the literature, but it is another form of intersex. So there is such thing as that, but there is a proper term, but I'm not going to, I can't think about it off the top of my head, but the best way I can describe intersex is it is a situation of my body throwing in a little bit of estrogen into my system, not enough to, do anything overly crazy, if that makes sense.
But enough to you notice that there's
Enough
obviously
where you were noticing, like, I was developing very small breasts. Of course, I was still, like, dealing with testosterone. I was still growing body hair. I was still dealing
Right.
with these things. But at the same time, my body was also producing estrogen, which allowed me to have, like, nothing like crazy, but I had like small breasts and I felt breast pain. And, like, there were things going on that were abnormal. The main way to get this targeted was around the age of, I believe it was 19, when I finally got some medical help.
okay.
I
So
got
I mean that's
Yeah.
that's you're getting older at that. I mean
Yeah.
that's not preteens anymore.
No.
So you went a while with just raw dogging it.
Well, basically being like, because with trans and intersex, and you would ask me, when did I know that I was trans, or that I knew that I was different? So going back to that, probably around 5 or 6 years old, I knew that something was up. I knew I didn't like all the boy stuff. I still like four-wheeling and stuff, but part of me did not feel like a male. And then, of course, as time went on, and my parents said it as well, it was potentially just a phase. But then, getting around to 7, 8, 9, 10, and the phase isn't going anywhere, it turns into a situation of, okay, well, something else is going on. Part of my family thought I was gay for a little while. So that was really funny.
Like maybe you thought you were maybe like like a femme boy.
Yes, and the thing was, I have two aunts who I love dearly. They're in a lesbian relationship. They've always been in a pinnacle. They've been pinnacle in my life. I love them.
They're probably like that kid's gay. Yeah, that kid's gay.
Well, the funny thing is, one of my aunts, the other one, she was like, "Oh, we love you and accept you anyway." But my aunt Heather, love her. She literally would take me shopping at thrift stores, and she would ask me like questions almost like, "Are you sure you're not gay?" I think they were just really hoping I was gay. So, but yeah, so with stuff like that, it was just kind of like, was it a phase? Was it not a phase? And then, of course, as we start getting into elementary school to junior high to high school, and the phase is still not letting up.
That had to be hard for you. I mean, because I feel like in those years of grade school, people are really not judgmental. That's a hard. I mean, were you bullied? Did you find it different, like being who you were, like?
Hands down, yes.
Right.
I grew up in a very small, like, village town of like maybe 600 people. Like, through people from like 3 counties, like there was like,
and their grandparents were there, and their
parents before them, and
right,
so on
parents,
and so on.
That's
Yeah.
where I'm from.
But because of this, I wasn't just known in the tiny village. I was known all around, and because of that, it caused a lot of issues. Unfortunately, it didn't just cause issues with my life. It caused issues with my brother's life. There was some conflict in his school, and there were certain situations where all of a sudden he'd be getting bullied because of my way of life and my existence.
You're just existing.
Yeah, and he would go to the principal's office quite a few times, and they'd just basically ask him, "Oh, are you here because of is because of Bailey?" And he would say, "Yeah," and they would just be like, "Okay, good." But the point is, yes, I was bullied a lot, and it I don't know. I feel like it definitely developed character. I say that in a partially joking way.
For anybody that might be seeing this that might find themselves in a similar position, was there any outlets, or do you have any advice for anybody that might be going through the same things that you went through to make it to make their transition or make their life a little bit easier and not so, I guess, hard? And I don't know, it had to be tough. It's tough to grow up just in general, just having normal, like I have a better term, like having a normal, what they call like a normal development.
A normal, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a normal,
like a normal life. Yeah. What was considered normal was like,
not everybody's, and you're special in a way where even like a lot of trans don't have that split in their uh,
Chromosomes.
in their chromosomes like you did. It's just it's that had to be, like I said, that had to be hard. So what are some things that you did to cope that would help with you?
Honestly, the biggest thing was, and just to give a little context, this was, of course, in a time in my life where I didn't really know what transgender was. I didn't really understand it. Um, Growing up in a very small town, and especially with everything, the surrounding towns being very redneck, very
Oh,
and
I know.
don't get me wrong, love rednecks, have had some great times, but it just sucked because of the small town mentality, I'll say. And as a result of that, it really did make outlets and support complicated. So I think the biggest thing I ever did to keep my sanity safe was I fell in love with music. Not so much playing instruments or anything like that. I wish I was that talented. But just listening to music, having music that could make me feel my emotions during those times of confusion, because once again, didn't know what transgender was, didn't even know what intersex was. I don't think I found out until I was 19 is when I found out about intersex and all of that.
So even up all the way up to 19, I mean, basically,
I
you just
know,
did not have the knowledge.
no clue.
But I will say, obviously, we're different. But one thing I'll agree with you on, I grew up. My father passed away when I was young, and I grew up a little different, and I was picked on a little bit. I was bullied a little bit, but music was always my thing too.
Yeah.
I just loved rock and roll. Loved, fell in love with Nirvana, Alice in Chains.
Mm-hmm.
That made me want to. Again, when you say build character, I'm not saying everyone should have to go through hard times, but if you get through it, it does make you better in the long run.
It just makes you realize what can actually be going on behind maybe closed doors. Maybe not looking at everybody with the narrative of you have it better, or you're this because you're weird, or you're that because you're different. And don't get me wrong, through my 20s, there was a lot of self-hate I had to work through, as as one does.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I think the biggest thing I learned along the way is when you go through life with a peace of mind and just a piece of your. Let me rephrase that.
Of course.
As long as you're going through life with a good peace of mind, and you're going through not harming anybody, you're being respectful, and you treat everybody, and I mean every fucking buddy, I don't care who it is, unless they, of course, give you a reason not to. But you treat everybody the same. You treat them with respect. You treat them with kindness. You don't treat them like they're nothing. Maybe they don't have, you know, maybe there's someone who doesn't have financial status. Maybe there's someone on the street who's homeless. Maybe there's a situation where you're dealing with a cashier. I don't know the situations per se
with people.
It's just you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. And the
So
biggest
true.
thing is to just treat those people with everybody, just with respect, kindness, and the same things that you would want to be treated upon yourself.
So
and
true.
The second thing is going through that bullying and everything like that, and developing the character that I had or have. The biggest thing I think I've learned is I am no better than someone else who maybe not. How do I word this with being articulate? I am no better than anyone else just because of the way my life.
Nobody else is better than you.
Exactly.
Right.
We're all on this earth just trying to do one thing: survive, get the fuck up, enjoy the day, do what we need to do, have some moments in between where we get to be around our loved ones, people we care about, have good times, make good memories. That's what we're all here to fucking do.
That's true.
So my thing is this: at the end of the day, maybe be a little kinder. Maybe enjoy that moment, that coffee in the morning, that time you get to spend with family, whatever the situation may be. Just the good moments and the good things. Just that's what I think being trans has taught me, being bullied has taught me, going through my high school traumas have taught me, losing my sister last year has taught me.
Condolences. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
That'd be tough.
It's just appreciate everything around you, all the good moments, and most importantly, like I said, just treat everybody with fucking kindness unless they give you a reason not to.
I agree. I think about some things. I have a couple things I'd like to say. First off is when you're growing up, it's you have that saying, at least I did growing up, you have to earn my respect. To me, it's like I respect everybody. What I allow you to earn is my disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you disrespect me, I don't have to spit hate at you. I just ignore you and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And going back to what you're saying, just to enjoy the little things, whether it's just coffee with your family in the morning. I think about stuff like that all the time. Like as I'm getting older, like how many more times am I going to see my mom? How many more times am I going to have with my brother? How many
Mm-hmm.
hours am I going to have? So it's like take each day, enjoy it, and just be kind. Like I really think that's as silly as that sounds. At the end of the day, just be kind.
And sometimes, unfortunately, it's easier said than done. Like, going through my 20s, trying to, be kind to myself because, like, going through everything that I went through, and as I'm sure many other trans people can say, you get to a point where you kind of hate yourself. You don't love yourself. You don't care. You just are fed up. And then having all these other elements outside of that where you have, people hating on you, you have like um, schools. Like when I was in university, I just had the whole school faculty treating me like they were walking on eggshells around me. And it did not make me feel very, like, it didn't make me feel like a human at all. And then I remember getting into university and I liked a guy. And
Oh, the plot thickens.
2 weeks after, he had asked me if I was trans. And at this point, I was just confused with myself. So I said, no, I wasn't. And unfortunately, his sister knew someone who I had gone to school with. And I don't know how she found out, but she did. And she put me through the ringer. And I mean, it's not like we did anything, but the fact of the matter is maybe I wasn't comfortable.
You're still figuring yourself out.
Exactly. So all of this confusion.
You said you're like 19?
Yeah, 19,
it's young.
20. And then,
And you just found out at that age, you said you just kind of found out about kind of what you are.
Yep.
Like kind of like how your genetics developed.
And then, going through like all the shit in my teens and my early years and just being confused all the time and being scared. And then you got hormones on top of that.
Right.
So then finally, the point I was making was going through my early 20s was a battlefield. I really needed to work on loving myself, giving myself grace. And I also really needed to work on my relationship with the world around me. So at 29, I think I can say that I've learned a few lessons along the way. But yeah, it's the challenges. It's the challenges you will go through as a person. It's the challenges you go through as just a trans person, just trying to exist, just trying to survive. So just all of these compiled on top of one another, it just creates the perfect storm. So then, you learn lessons, you find groups, you find support. So the one thing I would say for my best advice.
I said if someone was struggling with their identity,
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
So my best advice with all of this is we live in an age now where it's so easy to get in touch with people and it's so easy to find people who you can connect with. Make sure if you think something's up, and that I'm going to start with this. The advice I can give to someone who may be struggling, like I was at that time, is 1, find your people, find your community, and know that it gets better. That is the biggest thing I think I need to stress. It gets better. It does. It doesn't feel like it, but it will get better. You just got to fight a little. You got to put in a little work, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be even a little fucking messy. But that's okay, because that's life. But find your people, and the biggest thing I said is know it gets better. Because there are people I know out there who don't have family support. I'm very blessed, me and my mom. My mom's my best friend.
That's awesome.
Hands down.
That's awesome.
One of the most important people in my life, and the main person who was there for me through everything. And so I know that unfortunately there are some people in the community who don't have that support, who don't have their family's support, and it can suck, but chosen family can be just as fucking amazing.
Right. There's always someone to talk to. Like in today's age, just with the internet, I mean, when I was growing up, we didn't. I mean, you talk to the kids on your street.
Yeah, dial up.
You know, exactly. I remember I was there when dial-up was going in the homes. I remember we had AOL, and it still wasn't what it is today.
No,
We had AOL Messenger, and you just messaged the kids you already knew. You can go to the chat rooms and stuff, but it's not nearly what it was.
Do you guys
MySpace
have
started.
MSN?
Yes.
Yes.
MySpace started changing things a little bit, and then when Facebook came around and opened up, because people don't realize when Facebook had first opened up, it was just for college. You had to have a college ID to be part of it. Just connect college people, college students, and then they opened that up to the world. And then that, in my opinion, when that happened, that was the game changer.
Yep.
And then it was just domino effect. And now you got Twitter, X, you got Instagram, you got YouTube, Rumble. I mean, there's probably ones that I haven't even named that are out
There
there.
are so. It's
Snapchat,
wild.
that's another one. I'm not on that one.
Yeah.
But it's just wild.
Yeah.
And like I like to reiterate what you said is don't ever feel like you're alone. There's always someone you can talk to, and believe it or not, there's probably always someone out there that's going through what you're going through. Maybe not exactly, because they're not exactly you, but they're going through what you're going through. And I believe there's always someone you can talk to. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I really appreciate you opening up like this. I feel like this is one of the deeper episodes I've done, because I interview everybody. I interview a lot of trans because I work with trans. I've always respected the community, and I just like to shed light that it's not all guys in wigs going into women's bathrooms. You know what I'm saying? There's like a difference.
There's
There's a huge difference.
That's the extremely huge difference.
There's a huge difference in like a lot of my right-leaning friends, that obviously are Trump people. Because I'm from Indiana, I get a ton of friends that are right, and I don't get into politics. I don't care if you're right or left, but they always, whenever the trans comes up, it always comes up to some hairy guy with a beard and a wig. It's like that's not, and I hate saying that's. Maybe they're early in their transition, but the trans girls that I know do not act like that or look like that or film themselves and go out of their way to film themselves in bathrooms.
So that's where there's a lot of, I feel like, that definitely was, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the story behind, because I've seen a few different media videos like that of, people recording instances of people dressed in feminine clothing walking out and being full, masculine presenting.
Maybe that's who you are,
But with that, there have also been things in media about, people who are going to prison, and it could be for assault. There was one particular case that I will not forget. And it was when a man was going to prison for assaulting women, and he tried to transition to go to the women's prison. So the point I'm making with that is, unfortunately, the expression being trans and just being trans has been used as a weapon, in my own opinion, because what they're showing is not what it means.
No, it's so true.
And with that, it's like you're painting, in my own opinion, a negative narrative to push something else. It's because maybe we're not particularly liked, and maybe we're, as it's very seen in the news, continuing to be criticized. And, oh, you're fine. But, these accusations continue against an entire group of people. And it's unfortunate that it seems to be painted in the news as well. There was one thing that I seen where there was an incident with, I believe it was, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, sure. I don't know if I'll even know.
Just in general, if anyone sees this, please correct me in the comments
if
I'm
course.
wrong. But there was a particular incident with the individual who tried to assassinate Trump, the shooter. From what?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think one of them might have been identified as a trans.
No. So what happened was, it wasn't even the shooter who was trans. It was the shooter's partner who was transgender,
right,
from what the media had portrayed. But the point with that is, the media was so focused on the trans narrative that they weren't, in my own opinion, really focusing on the story at hand. So that's just in my own, I keep saying that, but it's true. It's in my own opinion. I feel like because the media paints it so negatively and paints it as this mental illness and this horrible way of life, and we're groomers and pedophiles and all of these other things are in association with, it's not truth. It's not.
No,
It's just
it's not. It's just it's labeling a few bad apples. It's just like every black person's not ghetto or in a gang. Every white person's not a white supremacist or a hillbilly. Every trans isn't
a dude in drag or a dude trying to dress up to sexualize.
There's always a few
things,
bad
but
apples to everyone.
That's a whole other thing,
right?
You know,
there's always a few bad apples to whatever, I guess, tribe that you're labeled at, and you can't let a few bad apples. And it's easy to do, it really is, but you can't let the few bad apples ruin it for everybody else, because not everybody's like that. Like I said, all the, and I've known tons of trans. I know trans that work in adult entertainment. I know trans that don't do any adult entertainment. I know trans that work in bars. I know trans that are drag. They do the drag shows where they sing. And I've found each one's different personality, but I find them. I've never seen the stereotypes that you would see on like the news. I've never seen that personally with anybody I know. I've only seen what the media will show you. How do we? Are you on Instagram and stuff like that?
Yes, I am.
Right. What's your? How do they find you on Instagram?
So the way that you guys can find me on Instagram is Bailey Archer Official.
Okay. At Bailey Archer Official, and then closing out, is there anything else you'd like to say? Like I said, like you're saying, there's always someone you can talk to. Don't feel like you're alone. Reach out if you need to.
I'm gonna the biggest thing is if you are going through something hard and you are going through a situation where you're not being accepted for being different and you're not being accepted for living your truth, it does get better. You just got to find ways, and there are ways. There really is. And especially in 2026, you can find those people. You just have to reach out.
Right. Honestly, I really appreciate you saying that. I think that's going to help a lot of people. And I honestly, this has been one of the more in-depth conversations I've had. I had she goes by next door, Cassidy.
I love Cassidy.
Yeah, she's a great
also, you had Eva on as well.
Yeah, but Eva, we talked more a little about the identity, but you and Cassidy really touched base on how hard it can be, and just how hard it can be on someone. And I'm glad that you're opening up, and maybe someone will see this and realize that you can reach out, you can talk. I appreciate you opening up. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you have a safe trip back to Canada land.
Thank you.
Oh, Canada! And you're gonna have a couple days in LA or just a day?
So the plan for LA is I'm probably going to stick around for a week, depending on if things pick up with hanging out with friends, because we all got our lives to live, or if things with filming and doing content pick up, we'll see. But who knows? I could be out here a little longer.
Awesome. Well, I hope I get to see you again. You've been pleasant. Maybe we can go out and do lunch or something sometime. But I wish you a safe trip back to Canada land. And this has been another episode of Real Vegas Podcast. You can find us at Real Vegas Podcast. We have new episodes coming out every Thursday. And until next time, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you.